What are the benefits of meat for health, and can you contrast them with the beliefs and challenges with the now so popular vegan diets and the real issues with them? I'm sure we've touched on some of this, but I'd love to hear what else you want to throw into the mix here.
Yeah, well, just basically to say that, right now, we 2 out of 3 of us are overweight or obese. We, less than 1% or 10% are metabolically healthy, 1 out of 5 of our children. So what happens when we take meat out is a lot of times we take protein out. And there's something called the protein leverage hypothesis. And it's essentially saying that we will overeat unless we get the amount of amino acids that we're looking for. So we're not only just looking for nutrients, amino acids specifically seem to shut off our appetite, reduce cravings, improve, our ability to burn calories and improve body composition. So I just think it's really dangerous for us to take out the best quality sources of protein that we're having. And I think people are eating too little protein a lot of times anyway right now. And so removing meat, the highest quality protein source, because it has all of the available amino acids and it's highly bioavailable, meaning your body can use it very easily. I think that's, one of the best levers you could pull is just increasing the percentage of really high quality protein in your diet in order to restore metabolic health. Actually, a really personal account quickly. My dad ended up in the hospital the other day with uncontrolled diabetes. And, right, it wasn't good. And what they were trying to teach him in the hospital was unfortunately not how I would have approached things, allowing him 60 carbohydrates per meal. I came in, he had a soda. He was also given an orange juice. His blood sugar numbers were in like the 700s. It was, I mean, wow. But what I did was have him put on a CGM, a continuous glucose monitor. And in 10 days, we were able to actually get him off of insulin. And it was because we prioritized protein, right? He ate protein rich foods anyway. So metabolically, protein is really, really important. And then second is there's 2 billion people worldwide suffering from nutrient deficiencies, vitamin B12, iron, major nutrient deficiencies worldwide. And while we do have publications like the Food Compass that will try to sell us the idea that cereals are more nutrient dense than animal products, there's a research group headed by Dr. Ty Beal, and he did a recent analysis called Priority Micronutrient Density in Foods. And what he prioritized the criteria of which nutrients are we most deficient in worldwide, which is not, the usual criteria. And he also took into account bioavailability, meaning how well is our body able to access those nutrients. And 9 out of 10 of the top foods were animal foods: liver, spleen, small dried fish, goat, beef, heart, kidney. And there was dark leafy greens was one of the animal-based foods. So the most nutrient-dense foods are animal products. Sometimes they even contain nutrients that we can't get anywhere else, like vitamin B12 and DHA and creatine and carnitine and on and on and on. So I think as a tool for restoring metabolic health, protein is essential, and also overcoming nutrient deficiencies, which about 30% of us are nutrient deficient. I think that's very, very low estimate because we also know that the nutrient content in our food is at a lowest point in history. And so taking meat out of the diet, it is a little bit scary to me, especially when it comes to children or people who are pregnant. But it's been shown to result in nutrient deficiencies. One account was, upwards of 70% of vegetarians and 90% of vegans were deficient in vitamin B12. And sometimes the consequences of vitamin B12 deficiency are irreversible. I've heard accounts of, very serious psychiatric issues, not being able to be treated with any medications, even electroconvulsive therapy. When that person gets B12 injections, these symptoms reside. There's also children who have irreversible cognitive delays and developmental issues because maybe they were breastfed by a vegan mother. And sometimes even when you supplement afterwards, it's too late. And then we have zinc. Vegans, vegetarians require more zinc because zinc is inhibited by phytate, plant compounds. And then we have iron and on and on. There's a lot of different nutrient deficiencies. We have an increased risk of hip fractures. We have an increased risk of, depression, anxiety, and self-harm in people who don't eat meat that is higher, according to one piece of research. We have, there's a litany. There's just many, many well-demonstrated issues. as a result of the nutrient deficiencies that can happen for certain people when they choose a vegan diet. Now, I do think that some people might be able to get away with it. Paul, I know that you did it for a certain period of time. I think if you're healthy, if you are breastfed, if you have, all of these different resources, if you supplement really strategically, that it could be something that you do for a short period of time. But I do think in certain instances, developmentally, pregnancy, children, I think it's a really dangerous idea to be pushing a meat-free diet, especially like in New York City public schools. They're doing vegan Mondays now, in addition to meatless Mondays and then vegan Fridays. And so a lot of times kids who don't have access to really high quality food and would otherwise get it in school are not even being allowed access there. And that's the main crux of my message, in addition to the environment, is just, I think for our children and this generation, we have to start waking up around the idea that meat is not the culprit here.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I'd like to throw on the table in addition to that. One, people forget that protein or amino acids, when they come by way of plants, are inextricably woven into the fiber of the plant. So if you don't have the digestive capacity and the enzyme availability to dismantle the fiber of the plant, you cannot extract the proteins out of it. I was a vegetarian for 6 months with my mother when she joined the Self-Realization Fellowship. I was 12 at the time, but I became anemic, and I was so weak and tired all the time, I couldn't do anything. I was unable to even do my farm work. So, being a very athletic child, my mother knew something was wrong. So she took me to a naturopathic physician. He tested my blood and he said, this kid's anemic, looked at what I was eating. He said, take this kid home and feed him a steak. You'll be fine. So I went home and started eating meat. And within 3 hours, I had my energy come back and my head cleared up and I felt alive again. In my late 40s, my soul directed me to being a vegetarian for 1 year, which I didn't want to do. And every day I checked, every meal I said, should I eat meat? But this was for spiritual development reasons. So just like shamans do what are called dietas, where they eat specific plants to engage the spirit of the plant and to go through a process that's more than I can describe in a couple of minutes. I was going through a lot of deep healing work and deep spiritual exploration. And I found that being on the vegetarian diet really enhanced my clairvoyance, my capacity for inner vision and subtle energy perception. But I will also tell you, I lost 26 pounds of muscle. And I was watching myself just shrink day by day. And no matter how hard I trained, I could not put muscle on. And I started having to take longer rest periods between workouts because my body just wasn't recovering. So I literally felt like it was triggering a rapid aging process. And then after 1 year, my soul said, go ahead, eat some fish and eggs with your vegetables now. But I immediately started putting muscle on as soon as the fish and the eggs were in my diet. And then after 6 months, my soul said, go back to your diet. And I share this because it's important for people to know when I'm talking about vegetarian diets. I have lived as a committed vegetarian, and I've monitored carefully what it did to my body. And I think all food as medicine can be used medicinally. I think a vegetarian diet can be extremely good for detoxification. It can be good as a part of a protocol for healing various types of diseases. And I've used this type of work in my career many, many times, as I have fasting and many other things. But when you look at the issue of getting breaking fiber down and getting protein out of plants, one, there's not near as much protein in plants. That's an important thing. Two, a lot of those diets are also extremely low fat. So people are starving for fat nutrition and fat soluble nutrition. The other thing that we have to consider is Aaron Fried Pfeiffer showed all the way back in the late 50s that the average person's digestive enzyme profile was seriously limited. In other words, they were having digestive trouble due to lack of enzymes from eating, which he tracked back to eating processed foods because people weren't eating enough raw foods to get enzymes in their diet. So it depleted the body of its enzyme stores. And he showed that by the age of about 32, almost everyone he tested was severely enzyme depleted and had a lot of digestive eliminative troubles because of it. So the point is, if a person goes on a vegetarian diet and they already have depletion of their enzyme resources because they're not eating enough raw foods, they actually cannot break the food down. So it doesn't matter. See, one of the things that's wrong with this whole concept is a lot of the stuff that we're being told about vegetarian diets or diets in general is based on research and labs. It says, okay, this plant has this many grams of protein, this much nutrients. But that doesn't mean it's going to get into your bloodstream, because everyone's digestive capacity is different and their genetics are different. And as I show in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, if your parents come from anywhere in the world where the ground freezes in winter, you're not designed to run off of plants. Plants don't grow out of ice. So, if you have anyone in your either parent that comes from where the ground freezes, it's almost a guarantee you've got to have meat in your diet, because your body's not designed to extract protein out of plants efficiently.
Yeah, no, I think that's such an important point. And when you look at the nutrients too in animal products versus the ones in plant products, our bodies pretty much always prefer the ones in animals. Like retinol is vitamin A, but beta carotene is the plant version, but you need 12 units, estimates vary, in order to create one of retinol. And then we have long chain omega-3 fatty acids, which almost everyone is deficient in. And we have the plant forms like alpha-linoleic acid, but the conversion to EPA and DHA and DPA are very low, like 5%. And it's even worse for DHA, which our brain needs. And so, yeah, it's important to take that into consideration. And then we have genetics. For some people, they can't do these conversions at all. And then, like you said, we have reduced digestive capacity, hypothyroidism,